So my first impressions are the phone ultrasonic thumbprint works just as good as it always has, and is very responsive as you can see, even with the screen cover. So yeah, it's just as good as it's always been. Maybe even actually feels a little bit snappier. The edge panel is back with a few new additions, enough to actually make me keep it this time. Two of the big additions here is the Noun Brief powered by AI, and specifically Gemini, which powers Noun Brief, which is a big focus in phones in 2024 and 2025, as most people know, is AI. So straight away, I actually liked Gemini. It was pretty responsive, and you could talk to it, similar to ChatGPT, which I use a lot. So you could talk to it or you could type to it, and it's really nice that it's actually combined into a hold of the power button, which you could switch to whatever you like. But I was actually pretty impressed with how responsive it was. Although, I think there's a long way for it to go before it catches up with ChatGPT, but it's really nice to be able to kind of have a two-way conversation with it. Um, it's built in as a virtual assistant for your phone, although it doesn't have access to every single app that you have on your phone yet. But, I'm assuming this is something that they're going to change over time. But I actually found it really, really responsive, and I kind of enjoyed using it. And since they offered 2 months free to upgrade to Pro, I decided to do it just to give it a try. But yeah, as you can see here, I switch over to the actual chat program, and you could chat with it. And you could do it either by voice or by typing to it, if you're in a meeting or something like that. So but I found it really useful, and I'll give it at least 2 months try since it's free. And another thing I wanted to add here, that the current version of Flash, if you're using a Gemini Advanced, is 2.0.
If you like what you hear, choose me to start talking.
Feel free to keep exploring until you find the perfect voice.
You can always change voices later. I'll be here.
If you're curious about the other voices, it's good to meet you.
Maybe I'm your style. I'm ready to be your voice. If you like what you hear, choose me to start talking.
So a new important feature that I think they added, and this is kind of like Samsung and Apple, I think, kind of making their ecosystems very similar. And, we always hear the term Samsung copied this, Apple copied that, but I just think that they're trying to do this to make it easier for people to switch. But when you swipe down from the top right, you actually get like your settings, and then when you swipe down from the middle, you actually get your notifications. So it's really nice that they have that now, and it's kind of intuitive for me because I actually use both phones. So another new feature that I actually like here is when you actually want to close apps and see what your primary app, right? Like, so when you kind of swipe up and you look at your apps, the app that's primary is moved to the right, and then it makes it really quick if you want to switch to the previous app that you're on, where it puts it on your front of your screen. Next, we're kind of looking at the wallpapers. I like the fact that I could actually take a wallpaper that I found online and kind of make edits to it. So, this is a Spawn wallpaper, which is one of my favorite characters, and I was able to kind of make it grayscale, and it looks really nice. Another new feature here that I was able to add to the time was kind of adding like moon phases, time of the day, rain, weather. You can see right there, I'm also adjusting the time scale so that it actually fits to a specific size. And it's kind of nice to actually have that as something that you could adjust. So also another nice thing here is like how vibrant the screen is. They've been using OLED screens. I don't know as far back since they started using them, but the screen is very vibrant, and it just looks really, really nice. And they made some additions to the camera settings, which I'm not going to go through all of that. That's kind of something that you could play with. But the big addition here, I think, is 8K, which I think they had that for the S24. I may be wrong, but it's kind of a nice to have. I don't know if I really need to record videos in 8K, but it's a nice to have, and something that I may try to use in the future to see how videos look. When you go into the search, it's kind of nice that they actually use Gemini to kind of help you search. So if you want to look for like battery in this case, right, like you can actually just talk to it. It's really nice just to be able to kind of go in there and actually have Gemini to kind of help you find settings and everything that you really need. So, for someone who's not really tech savvy and kind of, removes the need to go online and go on YouTube and find videos where you could do simple setting changes. Another great setting that I found, which you just saw pass by, was being able to set the maximum charge amount. That's really nice because, if you want to protect your phone and increase the life of the battery, you usually want to keep your battery between 80 and 20. So it's nice to be able to force it to stop at 80. So as you can see here, I'm starting to play around with Bixby a little bit, and it's nice that Bixby is still there. And kind of armed with Gemini being plugged into the phone, I was interested to see how Bixby compared to Gemini, and there's just some things that Gemini can't do yet that Bixby still can do because Bixby actually has control over most of the apps in your phone. But it's kind of a nice to have, and I see myself using Gemini and Bixby together. So yeah, it's still there. You could still use it. But yeah, there's some things that Bixby's just better at, and there's some things that Gemini does a lot better with. So Smart Switch is another one of those apps that I think that kind of makes it easy for people to switch over to a new phone, and switching to a new Samsung phone was really easy with Smart Switch this time, and it made it similar to how it would be with the Apple phone. So I enjoyed that part, and that was the first time I actually used cable to cable connection.
Yeah.
So what I also found cool here was that I can actually change the color palettes for Google search. This may be available for other apps as well, or maybe I should say widgets. But I like the fact that I was able to kind of make that switch and change the color palette, as you can see there. And I'm playing around with the widget for Google Calendar, which I'm sure you can change the color palette as well. But I think that's a nice addition. It's very small, but it's nice. Another thing here is I think transitioning from page to page, it seems a bit smoother. I mostly keep my Android phone in low power mode. That's just because it's my primary phone. But I thought it was nice how smooth it felt even low power mode, because with my S23 it felt really slow. And here we're actually looking at how thin it is, and I like the bezel on it, and I like the square feel. Again, it seems very similar to an Apple phone. I like where the buttons are placed, and the camera size. And again, the phones are just getting closer to each other, and I think this is by design because, if I'm going to switch from an iPhone to this phone, or if I'm going to switch from this phone to iPhone, it feels very, very intuitive. Just the size, the feel, the weight, and everything, it feels roughly about the same. So there's a lot of new settings to kind of look into. I'm looking at Galaxy AI here, and there's just a lot of things to go through. And that's not something that I'm really going to go through now. But, it just offers a lot of ability to kind of customize things the way that you really want it. And it's all nice additions. So Now Brief is another one of those apps that I mentioned. And it's nice to have. It's powered by AI. And, you can kind of go through the settings and customize that to show you things that you really want to look at throughout the day. I mostly kind of focus on weather and some traffic and some memories, but you could customize that to add in a lot more things that you might want to see, like YouTube videos or whatever it may be. But again, that's not really something I'm going to go through now. I wanted to quickly go through like an 8K video, and this is me recording on my iPhone 14, which I've recently just upgraded to a 16 Pro. But yeah, the 8K 30 actually seems pretty nice. And the nice thing about recording in 8K is that you downsample it to 4K or 1080p, and it's going to look more vibrant because it's going to maintain all those colors that you had from running it in 8K. But it seems pretty nice, and maybe I might use it in the future for some of my videos. But to me, it's just a nice to have.